64252164. Now let's jump right into it. Today's topic is we have a topic on sports, and we have Johan here on the show. It's indeed a pleasure to have you.
Again. Yeah. Yes.
So, for this edition of the Reality Bang, Joanne and I will be having a discussion regarding sports and give you guys a better viewpoint of this topic. So, my very first question is now, why has sports or why is sports becoming more and more important these days?
Hmm. So before anything, I want to clarify. Like Johan is the sports player over here. I am not. So you'll get two different, very different perspectives. I feel. So the importance of sports, I feel. One thing, the one thing everyone will observe in all the sports players, especially, right? It's that despite besides the fitness and everything, I think there is a lot of discipline that sports players have. There's a lot,
Exactly.
yeah. It's not just discipline in their sports, it's also a lot of self discipline as well. So these are two common things that you can see sports players have. And the reason why I feel like, especially in India also, because cricket is so influential, why people look up to people like MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli. It's even if you're not a cricket player, there are people who look up to them because you can see the sportsmanship that they have. You can see that these are people who have worked really hard, and you can see that in the when they're playing it itself. So you can see the discipline, you can see the work ethic that these people follow. And Dhoni especially, who's someone who's known for his leadership. And I mean, like people look up to him as a leader, more than a cricketer itself. So the
Exactly.
importance of sports, if you're asking, they're looking up to a cricketer, from a leadership standpoint. So you can see leadership, you can see discipline and self discipline. And another thing is teamwork. I don't think there's anything else that can show you how the power of teamwork better than sports, I feel. Because teamwork in your work is a lot more different, but when it comes to sports, I feel, because sports, yeah, you're seeing the exactly the point, the what teamwork is. It's people's strength and weakness together that comes in, and how it is put together, and the result of that. And you see that clearly in sports, I feel. So there are
Yeah.
so many, like, I think these small the things that you can see in sports, like if you're talking about discipline and if you're talking about teamwork, I don't think anything else can explain it better than sports, I feel. So the importance of sports is, I think, they are role models to you for multiple reasons.
Yeah. So you're right about the whole discipline part, but there's also another aspect. It really builds a huge level of character.
Hmm.
So let's just say, so I'll take my personal example. When I was small, I was a very naughty child, love to, create a lot of scenes in school, love to have go into a lot of fights. Like the most of the time when my mom was called for to school was, just because I was fighting some dude. So I'll tell you, like, before sports I used to be all over the place, but after sports it's built a way of life, in other words. So I was just not all over the place. I just stuck to a single path and I went through it. So it can be
Hmm.
any sport. So I've gone swimming, I've played football, I played basketball, I've gone for a lot of athletics events and MMA as well. So
Hmm.
I so everything included, I don't think it made a huge difference until it came to a point, when but just before the lockdown, about 2 3 years before the lockdown, and when I started doing martial arts at that point of time. And I'll tell you, that's the time where sports really changed my entire life. And it built that character, it built that discipline, it built that motivation. And it doesn't really teach you to uh, it shows me, like, every single day is not going to be the best day, every single day is not going to be bright sunshine rainbows, none of that. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, and you just got to go through it. And once you go through it, once you go through all the hardships and all, when you come back at the end of the day, you're going to be great, you're going to feel good, you're going to be like, yeah, at least I'm doing something that is working for me. And
Hmm.
the discipline aspect, it really guides you the right way. It uh, teaches you to take care of yourself and not let yourself go. So I think that's what a lot of That's why it's actually becoming more and more important these days, because it's showing a way of life. It's becoming more and more, a disciplined thing. You have to be
Mm.
very disciplined to go in any sport, even if it's table tennis. You still have to be
Mm.
disciplined for it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's
So
discipline, it's commitment, right? That is the,
exactly.
like, I don't like, more than any other thing. I think sports also explains like commitment so well, because yeah, like I remember, what is it? The thing you told about Usain Bolt. You can just tell that. You remember? You told me.
Yeah, yeah. So nowadays, like a lot of people, so Hussein Bolt told this in an interview. He's like, I trained 4 years just to run under 10 seconds, but
Mm.
nowadays people don't even see the results in 3 weeks, 3 months, and they want to quit.
Yeah. So exactly, for 10 seconds of world record, look at the amount of effort this guy has put. So I
Exactly,
think, like, that's what another thing also that sports is explains, at least, like, and not the intent directly but indirectly, is the importance of process. Because in the end of the day, like, the your process matters more to you than to anybody else, because nobody else will really care about your process, right? Your process
exactly,
won't. Yeah, so the process should matter to you more than to anybody else. And I think, for 10 seconds of record, the 4 years of effort he has put, that for that, just for the 10 seconds, which passes by for us so quickly, and for
yeah,
him, for that 10 seconds, the years of effort he has put, so I think that the importance of
exactly.
process also is explained so well, I think, in sports.
Exactly. So, speaking about the whole process, I'll move on to the next question now. What effect has sports had on the world, especially throughout the years?
So I mean, the unity of that, of fans with sports and all, started, is, you can see it from the 20th century, but sports has always been there, right? I mean, the Greeks were hosting the Olympic Games, like during the BC era itself, and and that was, so one thing, yeah. So BC era, so 18th and 19th century, you saw, sports becoming, transitioning to a completely different, level, and 20th century onwards, like, it became what, the power it has become. One thing throughout the years that you can see is, it's uh it's a form of, in the end of the day, it's like, for the audience, at least, it's a form of entertainment, right, for them, sitting and watching
Exactly.
games. And I think, the two things is, I don't think anything else can give you the level of dopamine that sports can give you. I feel.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
second thing is, I feel like I don't think anything can, no, nothing can unite, people like the way sports also can. I don't think anything has broken racial barriers, language barriers, like the way sports has. I mean, like, people always tell this one cliche statement about art, right? Art has no barriers, no language or anything. But in all fairness, if you compare it to sports, I mean, sports really defines that statement a lot more than art can do, I feel, So,
Exactly.
like, I don't know the anything else that has the unity that sports brings. I don't think I can. You rarely get to see that. Like, I still remember, like, when Argentina won the World Cup, India Indians are celebrating it like India won the World Cup for football. If you look at the way,
Exactly.
and yeah, and you're talking about another country, winning the World Cup, but in India, it's the way they're celebrating. It felt like the 2011, World Cup celebration. So, like, you don't get to see this. This is a world where, the language doesn't matter. Where you're coming from doesn't matter. It all breaks down. So that sort of unity that, like, I don't think anything else brings in the level of unity that sports brings in the world all these years I've seen.
Exactly. So, very building upon what you said. Now, very recently, I read through a Reddit post. Now, a person very so there was just a public post like, "What do people think about sports?" Now, this person had a very interesting take on it. He's like, ever since sports came into existence, it has been a way to fight wars, and it's been a way to build peace. And he gave it a very detailed explanation. So you take cricket for example, India versus
Mm.
Pakistan. Like, that's been there were wars actually about India and Pakistan, but now we don't really see that. We see most of it, the wars happening with cricket. So he connected the dots like somewhat. And if we take football for example, we
Mm,
have various countries playing against each other, and it's not like in terms of weapons, it's their only weapon is a ball and their skills.
mm,
And building peace, like as you said, India was very happy when most Indians were very happy when Argentina won the World Cup. It's as if
mm,
like India itself won the World Cup, so that brought unity. And he went on to
mm,
explain, this is the level we need for peace.
mm,
And I was like, okay, very interesting take he did have. So that kind of actually brought me down to that.
mm.
But yeah, he is right on an extent, because sports has been a way to solve disputes, in other words.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember back in school, like I used to be part of a group. Now we didn't like another group because they always used to act very cocky, very high and mighty, and we didn't like that. So we told, like,
Mm,
what, there's a football right there, let's take it and let's hash things out. And at the end
mm,
of the day, we became a very good group. We started playing football every single time during break time, lunchtime.
mm,
And we kind of built that bond. And till now it still exists. Like every single
mm,
time when I'm free, we go and we play on a turf.
mm,
So yeah, it still builds bonds. We started off as enemies, but now we really
mm.
became very good friends. So yeah, it
Yeah.
does build bonds.
Yeah, like, and also, like, I don't think anything else explains sheer hard work like the way sports
Exactly.
does, because it's a craft where it's physical, right? Everything. So, you are seeing football players who are, not football players, just sports people who are sitting, sweating, for hours and minutes, over there, and the level of effort they have put, and you can see it. I feel so, like, the sheer hard work. I don't think anything else. I think sports is a very great example for that. I feel like that people have seen it. You may not be a sports person, but by looking at the work ethic, by looking at the discipline that these people have, by looking at the hard work they've put for the few minutes and hours of game that they're going to play. I think it does influence people.
Exactly. So moving on to the next question now. This is specifically for people who are training in any big sports meet or sports competition they have coming up. Now, what are some things they should keep in mind?
So I'm not the sports person. Yohan is, so I think Yohan can answer it better. But one thing I can tell is, like, as I said, I feel like in India, the two most famous things is it's film and it's cricket. These are the two most famous things in India. And when you have a sports so big, but unfortunately, it still, if someone wants to pursue it to the higher level, they don't get the support. I feel they don't get
Exactly.
they don't get the motivation. Forget from family, I feel like sometimes from friends also they may not get. So I feel like
Exactly.
when I feel like sometimes these kind of, when you have such kind of aim in life to become a sportsman, and when you have no one by your side supporting you, unfortunately it becomes much tougher, I feel. So but one other great thing about people who are focus about sports is the focus that they have, the I mentioned earlier, the discipline they have, the hard work that they put. I think these things all add up for them, which is why no matter how much people probably demotivate them or do not support them enough, I know one thing for sure, it still doesn't bother them, because in the end of the day, if they end up reaching on a level, like, I don't know how much people will sit and criticize once they've reached the level. Like, I remember this one businessman in Shark Tank. He said, like, when it comes to business, the amount of effort that they have to put down, they have to hustle, and if they won't when you do, in the end of the day, your family also doesn't support you. In the end of the day, if there's money in your bank, they won't really say anything. So I feel like for
Exactly.
sports people also, once they reach a certain level of caliber, a certain, if they aimed and they have achieved, I feel like people will keep quiet, because they have gone through a journey where it's pretty much been their hard work and their effort. So I think one thing I can say is, I don't think any other player, profession or anything, has the tough path like the way sports does, I feel, honestly. And no other
Yeah.
profession has it, I feel, as tough as sports. So I feel, but one thing I can tell about sports people is you people focus better than everyone for sure. You all have the work ethic that no one else does. So definitely, you guys, if you all really prove them wrong, I think that will be more. If you prove them wrong, it will hit them harder more than any other profession. Also, I feel so. That's what I would say.
Exactly. So I think everyone knows who Conor McGregor is, right? So he has a very famous saying, if you can envision it up here, if you can see it here, if you say it, it'll happen. So no matter like how many challenges you're going to face in life, you're going to face a lot of challenges, whether you're going for sports, whether you're doing any business, whether you're studying, whether you're, you know, even walking or traveling in that matter, you're going to face
Mm,
challenges every part of the way. But, best thing is like, no matter how difficult challenges are, we have the ability to overcome it. No
mm,
challenges is as big as you. You're the biggest. That's what you got to keep in your mind. Because I'll just give you a small short story about me. So
mm,
in my very first year of college, I didn't know there was a sports competition and all. I came to know it a lot later when a sports representative came and told like, "Hey, you want to be part of the relay team for our class?" And I was
mm,
like, "Okay, sure, let's go." And I trained only a week, and that was not solid training. That was just like, here and there, like max to max maybe 4 hours or something a day.
mm,
And when it came to the relay heats, we
mm,
just had a practice race with another class. I forget the class name, but the guy who was running for their class, like in the relay, he was actually a state runner for Karnataka. So we actually had a small race, like three, four of us, and I ended up beating him in less than 100 meters. That was not even 100 meters.
Oh,
I ended up beating him.
yeah.
And he was shocked. Like I went to the end and he stopped in the middle. Like after I took over, he stopped. And while coming back, I can see him like, he and his captain of his relay team, they were like, I don't know what they were hatching, but they looked very worried. And I was like, bro, I just trained for like a week. And that's what I'm telling you. Like sports really can, like, there's nobody better.
Mm,
You yourself are going to be better. Like I didn't think he was a state runner. I never knew he was a state runner. It was
mm,
only after I beat him and after the whole relay thing, I came to know a week later he was a state runner.
mm,
So imagine if I knew he was a state runner, before the practice race with him. I don't think I
mm,
would have beat him. I just don't think I would have beat him. So it's all a battle of the mind, before anything else. First they say you have to win the war in your mind before you go for the war in the battlefield.
mm,
So for any sport, even if you're going for football, all of these guys, like, they sit and they meditate for like an hour or maybe half an hour or something. They just
mm,
think and they get their
mm,
mind together. They get their mind in sync. Like they find that
mm,
balance. And only
mm,
when you find that balance, you can really perform. And I'll tell
mm,
you, I just went out there for fun and I ended up doing really well. Of course, we didn't get selected in the heats. There were a few issues in that, but we did very well. We were happy with it. And I was
mm,
very happy with it.
mm,
So, and let me tell you the amount of respect you're going to get. At
mm.
that point, he never knew who I was. I never knew who he was. I just knew he used to date this girl. That's all.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
after that, like the week later, he used to come every single morning whenever we used to meet each other. He used to tell me good morning. And even if I'm doing anything, if I'm talking to someone or getting stuff at the canteen, he used to come and tap my shoulder and he used to be like, "Hey, Yohaan, good morning." And
Mm,
I don't know what changed, like, but I'll tell you, it built a lot of respect. And
mm,
no matter who you are,
mm,
even if you're just starting out, if you're just getting used to things, trust me, you'll be surprised by the things you can do only with just your mind,
mm,
just by clearing your mind, having your confidence. Don't lose
mm,
confidence ever. I'm not
mm,
talking about going and training for hours on end. Heck, you can even train for 2 hours a day. I don't mind. You can
mm,
train for 2 hours a day. But main thing, you have to keep your mental health perfect. You have to
yeah,
keep your mind in sync. If you
mm,
do that, your mind and body in sync, trust me, you can beat anyone on the planet. And if you have enough hard work, good luck. You're going to be reaching heights which nobody else can
mm,
think you can reach.
mm. But yeah, you said the importance of, like mental health so important in sports because one thing I've heard, one thing very famous about Ronaldo is they ask him what's one thing about you, that other people don't have is like what you the best quality in you, they ask him. He always keeps saying the best quality in his is my mind. You
Exactly.
you he always says it's my mind. So but that's why like Ronaldo is who he has become, right? Because he is really I don't think he's become the epitome of sheer hard work, of work ethic, because from the life that he had to the person that he's become. You don't and he's now the most famous sports person in the world, right? So
Exactly.
that's why the difference with him and Messi is a prodigy, right? I mean, he was
Yeah.
someone who's good as as he was young. Unlike Ronaldo, Ronaldo was someone who just became good in the craft, because purely out of passion and hard work. And there are so many people, like just like that, right? So that's why Ronaldo has become, such a role model, because because with how much difficulties this guy has gone through his life, and till today, people can relate to him, and still, the best quality he tells is his mind. So that explains a lot. Like the focus is very important, I feel, in everything, in sports also, especially. And once when you reach a certain caliber, the focus that sports people have, you don't see that in other people much.
Exactly.
So
That's what separates the goats from, just a normal people. So we spoke about football now. Very recently, we have been seeing a lot of AI integration into football. So, what do you think about the integration of AI into sports?
I mean, the battle people, the always the debate that people have with AI is the whole, with the whole AI versus that thing, right? Like
Yeah,
recently, someone was telling, was talking to, he said that AI is not the main problem with AI is it's stopping people from thinking. So that's the main problem that AI is. But I feel like for sports people don't have that problem. AI can't play sports. So the the purpose of AI is it's supposed to be a tool that's gonna benefit you. That's what AI's main purpose is, to make a lot of things easier for you. And I think definitely you're going to see that in sports. I think in terms of like data analyzation, I think
hmm,
AI is really the power that AI has. I feel like that's going to help sports people a lot more. And also the whole the virtual reality environment, right? That metaverse is right now coming up with. Uh, so as much as people find it weird, I feel like there will be good use to it. I think because for us it's very foreign, it's new to us, that we are not able to understand it. But few years from now, I think that'll be very useful for sports people as well. Coming up, with a virtual reality environment. So I think AI is going to evolve in such a way that like for sports people can analyze their techniques, their practice, their movements, their consistency. I think these so many things, as technology has improved. Like I mean, today also, like in cricket also, you can see the stump, right? You can how accurately you can check if the wicket is there or not. There was a time you couldn't do that, and now
exactly.
yeah, even if it's like half an inch that's the wicket, you can figure it out. It's reached.
Yeah,
So I think as technology has improved sports in that way, AI will definitely, uh, it will evolve. It will help them, in ways. I think in terms of even eh, uh, coming up with like a good practice routine. I think in that way, in that sort, also AI is going to be, very helpful for them. So like I mentioned, in terms of analytics and in terms of improvement for them by using AI, I think if they know to use it the right way, once AI is the one. I think AI, one thing about AI is it's still, the power of AI is still not unleashed. I feel like AI will become like way more powerful than it already has. So
exactly.
but in sports, I think so it will make a lot of things better. 10-15 years from now, I think the use of AI in sports, for us, we are going to see it, but 10-15 years it's just going to be like a normal thing, the use of AI in sports. So it will be helpful for them for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And if we see in cricket and football, especially, I'm not talking about the really advanced thing like MotoGP, Formula One, and all, because we know, of course, they use AI, they use all these simulations and all. That's how they are able to attain the peak level that they are. But
Mm,
very recently, there were AI things that were established in football and in cricket because. I just saw a training video of Virat Kohli when he's hitting his shot, and the thing that projected on the screen is how he hit his shot. Now they also gave him a suggestion: if you hit the shot like this, it'll go like this, and you can get a better run rate on it. You can hit a better six that way. You can hit a better four that way. And I was like, gosh, like 50 years down ago, or maybe 20 years ago, people never had this kind of technology. Like,
yeah.
you just have to hit every single ball to see which one would eventually hit your luck. But now they're
Yeah.
actually teaching it how it goes. So of
Mhm.
course everything has evolved because of that.
Mm.
Now, coming over to my last question. Now, of course, we know there are two type of people, and that is those who watch sports and those who play sports. Now, what are your takes on these people?
The people who only watch sports, right? Like especially cricket, because a lot of people watch cricket. So like the people who watch cricket, I call them textbook cricket. Well, I was because these are people who are going to look at the run rate or going to look at the records, and they're going to unfortunately judge. And uh but the difference is, I feel like anyone anyone, nobody will understand the craft of a certain thing better than the people who have practiced the craft themselves, right? So
Exactly.
like that, which is why I feel like nobody will understand an actor's performance better than an actor. Nobody will
Hmm.
understand a drummer, for example, his groove. For someone who doesn't play drums, it might be simple, but a drummer will understand why why the drummer is so good even with a simple groove. The drummer will be able to understand. I think same thing with people who play sports. They will understand why they are so good at what they do. Unfortunately, for the ones who don't play sports and only watch it, it's the for them, they enjoy the result a lot more than anything else. I think for people who are into who play the sports, they enjoy the entire process itself altogether, because they know they play the entire thing, and they know to play the sports. I think they also understand the heat of it, right? They understand the heat of the game, how it is played. So that's the difference. That's why I remember when Sachin hit 100. I remember, a journalist was having a cricket interview with a cricketer, and he was like telling him, he was like going through some records, and he was telling, and the cricketers literally like scolding and yelling at him, for even for saying that, because he's looking at the records and he's judging Sachin, like, and like that's why like people don't understand why Sachin was Sachin, because he's the most skilled cricketer, right? That they've
Yeah.
ever seen. And like even like his average, I think, was like 50, above 50 or something like that. Like
Hmm.
that is really good. And although for someone who doesn't understand, that hasn't played cricket, they won't understand how an average of 50 itself is really good. A cricketer will understand that. For them it's huge. Seeing that. So and like when it comes to the craft, the ones who have practiced the craft will definitely understand, and you can't really blame the ones who haven't played the sport, because they haven't played. They can't see it from that angle, right? They can't see it from that perspective. That's why it's the results they see, and they give their opinions by looking at that. So, and I think that's the difference. Like they understand the entire process, because they have played the sport. So my thing with the people who don't play sports is, like stop looking at the just stop looking at the records, and and giving your judgment by it. I feel it's a bad way of I feel like it's a bad way of giving your opinions when you don't know, the effort a sports person has put, and you're just judging the sports person by looking at, by looking at the numbers. So that's a horrible perspective, to give your opinion at. I feel so. I think best is to not give your opinion in that way, because yeah, it's hard to hear it, but you don't understand the hard work of them. The ones who played the sport will understand it a lot better. So that's why, but it's not their fault also. I can't blame them.
Yeah, that's also true. So I'll just give you two examples, and a few years ago, Conor McGregor faced Habib for the lightweight
Mm,
championship in the UFC. Now, everyone is saying, "Oh, Conor really messed it up. He started drinking and all of that." True, he could have done better. But have you seen the way how he fought Habib in the ring? Do you
yeah.
think anybody would have at least done as good as he did?
Mm,
I don't think so.
no.
Dustin Poirier tapped in the second round. Justin Gaethje went out in the second round as well. And these are guys who they don't drink that much. They're not like Conor, but I don't know. Like many people are criticizing him on the way he was, but come on, Habib
Mm,
is a totally different person. If it was anybody else, it would have been a different thing. But it is Habib,
yeah.
and these guys they train
Yeah.
in Russia. Their training regiment
Mm,
is some next level, and I'm the
mm,
reason why Mahachev is still the lightweight champion is because you should see his training regimen. He comes out, it's cold, it's snowing, he just jumps in the water, he stays there for a while, he comes out and again he goes in and then he goes back into the sauna.
mm,
People are so scared to sit in an ice bath for like 15-20 seconds, and that is
yeah.
just ice. This is
Mm,
actual cold, and I'm talking about minus degrees, and these guys are just going there and doing it like just a normal bath. And
mm,
you can see how their training regiment is, and people complain if anybody doesn't do well against them. And I'm like, see the level of training, see the level of hard work these guys put in. Like these guys train 18 hours a day, they barely sleep, they
mm,
barely eat anything that makes them fat or anything like that. They stay on a strict diet, strict training regimen, and it's wrestling entire day. And and people really expect Americans to compete with them. Of course, I'm not saying that anything bad. There are a lot of Americans who have beaten Russians before, but the whole training regiment is a totally different thing.
mm,
And very recently, Islam faced against Dustin again, and Dustin did a fantastic job, but he did tap out at the very end, and people are calling him out saying he's a bad fighter. He's washed up and all of that. I was like, do you think anybody else can perform as well as he did?
mm,
Like people, like they just see, they think like, oh yeah, I can do better, he could have just hit like this, he could have done like this. I'm like, bro, do you not understand the thing? So I have been personally in the cage, I've been personally in the ring, and I fought people, and I know the pressure that's going to be on you. And you really
mm,
think like just because these gloves are 4 ounce gloves and once you get hit, you're just going to be fine? No, boxing
mm,
gloves are more than enough to rock your world. And
mm,
these gloves are thick and they are enough
mm,
to rock your world. You can imagine with gloves that are just this much.
mm,
I don't know, like especially I was in one of a restaurant bar or something like that, and I was just having a nice dinner with my family when this Machev versus Poirier fight was going on, and I'm seeing a lot of people, they are complaining like in the entire fight. They're like, "Oh, he should have done this. He should have done that." I just looked at them and I was like, "Are you serious? Do you really think this is the case?" And most recently, I think we can talk about the cricket, India versus Pakistan. Like
mm,
everyone were like, oh yeah, he should have hit like this. Like many people went out for duck, right, in
mm,
Indian's team. And everyone
yeah.
were like, oh, this happened, oh, that happened, Kohli went out for 4 runs, I think. And everyone were against it, but I was like, wait, there's still time.
Mm,
The match is not over, there's still time. People think the battle is already lost even before the battle has started.
yeah.
And I don't know, like people who just only watch sports, I'm not really against them, but understand it first before saying anything else. There must be a moment why they did exactly that, why they hit the ball the same way, why they scored the ball a different way, why they
Mm,
landed a punch a different way. Like people are just so quick to jump to criticism without even understanding why it happened in the first place. And people who play sports, they are thing on as a whole different level. Like they're not going to criticize anything. They're like, you got the win, you lost, it's fine, get back up and move on. You scored this
mm,
many runs, good.
mm,
Do well, do better next time. You scored a goal, great, fantastic. Make sure you do another one. It's that
mm,
it's that simple. You're going to get constructive criticism, or you're not even going to get criticism. You're going to get just decent advice.
mm,
And I think that's what separates the people who actually play sports or played sports in the past
mm,
and now are watching it, and people who are just watching it. Because first of all,
mm,
you need to really understand the work these guys put in. It's
mm,
not. it's not just like an hour or two or anything. These guys train for like 18-20 hours a day. They barely
Mm,
have enough time to sleep, and they are, they give their entire time on their craft. That's why they are so good. I don't think like
mm,
you and I, if we, do our same regiment and go out, I don't think we are going to beat these guys. These guys
yeah.
had levels of training, and I don't think we can compete unless we are willing to establish that work ethic and stop cribbing about everything else. That's
Mm,
when we can actually, come up to that level. But if we are just, just going to sit behind a TV and be like, ah, you should have done this, you should have done that. Yeah, don't expect your life to be any greater than, it already is.
yeah.
Yeah, so you do have any final comments?
Final comments. I think the question itself was in one way like a good way of like saying final comments, right? But yeah, I think you were right about the sports. I think I don't think any, like I said, nothing can unite people like the way sports can. And I think I feel like sports, then I think that way you have to really, appreciate sports, that I don't think anything else breaks the racial barriers, the language barriers, like the way, sports can. I don't think the level of unity that sports brings in, you don't see that in any other art form. It's also all together, I feel like. So I feel,
Exactly.
no matter what, I feel like over the years things will evolve, things will change, but I feel like sports will always remain, for sure. And definitely sports will never be erased, in this world. That will always be in the end. I feel like this is something that's going to unite the world, in the future also, so that sports definitely will remain. I think that's what I could say.
Exactly. And I would also suggest like those who can play sports and who are not entirely onto video games or reading or anything, do take up at least a single sport. Like it's not gonna hurt anybody if you start playing at least a sport. It'll build your
Hmm.
character, it'll build discipline. And most of all, you need discipline in your life. If you want to get far, you need discipline.
Hmm.
So that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A huge thank you to Johan for joining today's show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys have any questions or just want to contribute to our topics, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning into this edition of the Reality Bank, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Yohan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next